there is a question right now on the lips of many and in the ears of many, because the WWE have left us one really simple question that we now have to bat around in order to work out what's actually happening. Who is going to main event WrestleMania 2022? Now on night one, they have announced that we will feature Charlotte Flair against Ronda Rousey. They also today announced that we will feature Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair. So the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships will both be on the line from the off on WrestleMania's night one. This leaves a whole world of possibilities. First and foremost, of course, the possibility that at the end of the night, we go into night two with a unification match. Thank you very much, Professor Wiggly, for renewing your subscription for a 9th month in total on Twitch. Thank you and welcome to the show, sir. With this in mind, what we have is the potential for a full-on war between Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair to determine who gets to main event WrestleMania. And all four of them are going to lose. Welcome everyone, my name is Tom Colohue. I am a YouTuber, a streamer, a pro wrestling journalist and of course a podcaster for PW Torch's VIP section. I'm going to be going through the news today of exactly who is going to be main eventing this year's WrestleMania with, to be clear, a definitive answer as to who is going to be main eventing WrestleMania. We also of course will be covering a lot of the matches for the women's divisions and going in a little bit more detail as to what to expect on night one and what to expect on night two. The WWE very clearly top loading the show already. But first, please remember to click like if you've not already done so, and subscribe if you've not as well. You see, yesterday we temporarily reached 1,000 subs, and then I woke up this morning and had lost 10 straight back, and we went down from 1,002 to 992. Since then, over the course of today, my previous video, so yesterday's video, was very successful, and we've got back up to 998. So we are once again slightly away from 1,000 subs. That is 2 more necessary for it. However, I did expect this, not too disappointed. Unfortunately, the monetization period means that you have to have a little bit of a buffer zone in subs before you can rightfully apply. So we go again. Please subscribe if you have not done so already. I have a number of questions that were already in the YouTube that I'm going to try and answer now from Prez Noir. And then we will run through the chat and I shall answer the question. I will tell you exactly who is going to main event WrestleMania. Okay, Prez Noir says, do you see Sasha being moved into the tag division and a step back to where she was in early 2018, early 2019? No, absolutely not. I see her moving back into the tag division to help the tag division as she is now in 2022. Prez Noir says, with your reporting and a couple of others I've seen that Sasha was originally supposed to win the Rumble, do you think that they still want to give Sasha that big win at some point down the line? To be clear, I have never at any point reported that Sasha Banks was supposed to win the Rumble. I did, however, report that Sasha Banks was supposed to be going up against Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. Those are two different things. Prez Noir also says, would you be surprised if Sasha hadn't won a Rumble, Money in the Bank or Elimination Chamber by the next 5 years? Yeah, but also no. Do you think the reason Sasha got eliminated from the Rumble before Bianca came out was so WWE could hold off on that confrontation? No, I just think they eliminated Sasha nice and early. Do you think Sasha's young age compared to other stars is why she hasn't received the big moments? No, I just don't think they think of her. With how overproduced commentary is, do you think it spoke to how WWE sees Sasha when Cole said Sasha had a good chance of going down as a GOAT? No, because ultimately the reason they did that is because Michael Cole decided to. It's got nothing to do with the production of commentary. Michael Cole usually does his own thing. So we're all caught up. Hello everyone. Bailey says hello Tom. Hello. Spider-Boss says hello Tom. I prefer to see Bianca versus Becky. They're seeing Bianca's redemption. Ronda versus Charlotte is kind of like a game of US MLS. I do kind of get what you're saying there. Does WWE still wanting to have Trish and Lita as a tag team at Mania? They are wanting to feature them at Mania if they are able to do so. Just to be clear, everyone, I do not have 1,000 subscribers anymore. I was initially surprised at that first run of 10, and it looks like they may have been bots, just to wind me up a little bit. But we are where we are with that one. Jaden is asking for any Sasha Banks news. I did just cover quite a bit of it. Yes, there will be Sasha Banks news coming just shortly. Tommy B says, boo, people unsubbed. It's under 1k again. It is, unfortunately. But we take the rough with the smooth, and ultimately, I am still 16 subscribers better off now than I was at the start of the show yesterday. That's fantastic. To be clear, that is an amazing number. So I'm still very happy with it. David Leary says, hello everyone. Hello David, how are you? And Sonic says hello as well. Hello Sonic. And says, hello Tom, how are you doing today? Doing very, very well, thank you. Despite everything, the YouTube is still growing extremely quickly, and WrestleMania is starting to come together. So good things. Wiggly says, does your headline imply that there is going to be a four-way between Lynch, Ronda, Flair and Bianca at WrestleMania? It may, you may have inferred that, but it does not imply that. Ultimately, the four women right now are competing to determine who will become the main event. They are competing backstage. They are competing when they step out to the ring. The gauntlet has been thrown down to these four women by the WWE, basically saying, give us a reason to make you the main event. It is up to them to do so. Though, of course, I will still have an answer for you as to who exactly will be main eventing this year's WrestleMania. Jane says, is Sasha going to be at Raw? I don't know. Haven't checked in at this point. I'm going to wait and see for whether or not that happens. I believe she will, on the basis of them wanting a lot of big draws on both shows. Sasha fits the bill. Spider-Boss says, any chance of Charlotte retaining at Mania or Ronda is winning anyway? I am very sure, like 95%, Ronda Rousey will be claiming that championship, but I do not spoil match finishes. I do not spoil match finishes. Just to be clear on that. Wiggly says, I read about Asuka. Does that mean her WWE career is winding down? No, absolutely not. I'd imagine when you say what you've read, do you mean the PW Insider report? There's no creative plans for her. Yeah, she's still injured, mate. I've said multiple times on this channel, her return date just keeps being pushed back. They wanted her in the chamber. Alexa Bliss was not first choice. They wanted Asuka in the chamber. Wiggly says, without being political, what did you make about Mayor Kane's comments about those outraged by the Ukraine crisis? I think he did what he always does. He appealed to his Republican base and ultimately made a lot of enemies, but that just... Republicans are doing very well recently at becoming victimized by claiming victimization. They literally prove themselves right, but they create the problem. Like, oh, have you seen this cancel culture? There's no cancel culture. But suddenly they're being ratioed and quote tweeted everywhere by people who ultimately are trying to cancel them. So they create their own narrative, and it's kind of working. So stop falling for it, basically, is what I want to say. Jane says, any news on WWE 2K22? Well, yes, in fact. WWE 2K released a lot of news about their game today, particularly wrestlers who are going to be there who were not necessarily expected. Andrew Quinn says, hi Tom, just made it. Then I was just getting one of my Mountain Dews downstairs. Also, Cody gave a tease on his social media page by putting time to turn a page. He did. Cody Rhodes is not the only one teasing. Basically, everyone in the WWE right now is teasing. And that will definitely be selling some Mania tickets, I tell you. Again, to my knowledge, at this time, Cody Rhodes has not signed a new deal or any deal with the WWE. I am waiting to hear more, but I'd imagine if it happens, it'll be happening soon. Spider-Boss says the WWE Women's Tag Team match is on night 1 or night 2 of WrestleMania. The WWE Women's Tag Team match at the moment is scheduled for night 2 of WrestleMania. Night 2 of WrestleMania will feature the Women's Tag Team Championship match. One of the primary reasons that the WWE feel comfortable having the Women's Championship matches, so all of those draws, Becky, Bianca, Charlotte and Ronda, all 4 very strong draws, is because they have Sasha Banks balancing them out on night 2. WrestleFan says, hello Tom, how are you? Very, very good, thank you. Very good. Wiggly says, is it true Asuka has a twin in WWE? Someone in the Discord said. I believe she does have a sister, but they don't both play Asuka. I think that was a very well played joke, to be honest. Got to give him credit for that one. Cherry Coke, Cherry Coke. There's whatever a Cherry Coke. Hello, Jermaine. How are you? Montel says, hey, Tom. I think Becky and Bianca is 100% main eventing. Becky's on a mission to make that happen. Bianca's on a mission to make that happen. They've got a mountain to climb in the face of, essentially, Ronda Rousey. But Becky Lynch has climbed that mountain before, as has Ronda Rousey. Sonic says, I prefer Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch as a Mania main event for night 1. I know a lot of people very excited about that. Spider Boss says, I wonder, are Sasha and Naomi going to appear on Raw tonight to build the Women's Tag Team Championships? Good question. Sean Cena says, Wrestling News Co. 100%, they are not the source of this. Said that Vince has decided to give Ricochet a big push on SmackDown. If this is true, do you see him winning the IC title on Friday? Okay, a lot to unpack immediately there. This is based on a report that I believe came from PW Insider, or Dave Meltzer, one or the other, stating that on the internal listing of babyfaces, Ricochet now lists as number 2. So, second after only Drew McIntyre. There is a reason for this. Everyone else left. Everyone else left the company. However, even then it's not entirely correct, because the number 1 babyface on SmackDown is Brock Lesnar, not Drew McIntyre. So at the very best, Ricochet would be 3rd. Let's not forget about the existence of Brock Lesnar, you know? Everyone seems to be forgetting that, but you know? Jaden says, I hate people who unsubscribe when you hit a goal. I don't hate them per se. I think honestly it was bots that did it, so I can't really blame anyone. But as I say, it was a little disappointing to wake up this morning and not be at the 1,000 anymore, but it's not that big a surprise. There are many different accounts that will follow for a very brief amount of time just to pad numbers and be dicks. That's unfortunately something that does happen. As a content creator, you have to be wise for that. You have to not get too excited. Sometimes you got to take a breath, calm right down. Well, I've got you. If you are currently watching on YouTube, please remember that you can hit that thumbs up. That little like button goes a massive way to finding new potential viewers and more subscribers as well. As I have mentioned, we are currently sitting at 998 subscribers, or at least we were at the start of the show, meaning we only needed 2 more to reach that 1,000. Now, admittedly, once we reach that 1,000, we'll need a few more to get that buffer zone up, but just 2 more needed at this point in time. So please do consider hitting that like button and that subscribe button if you've not already done so. Douglas Vigneault says, Priest versus Demon Balor in WrestleMania. I find that unlikely, but we do have Finn Balor versus Damian Priest tonight. When it comes to the Demon King, I think Roman may have killed it. I think Roman may well have killed it. Spider-Boss says, I hope that Ronda versus Charlotte match is good as their match at Survivor Series 2018. I hope it's not a Cena versus Brock of 2014. Charlotte has a lot of people who hate her, in which case a lot of people probably do want the Brock Cena from 2014. I think it will be the Survivor Series rematch, and I think it will be very, very good, to be honest. I really do. Wiggly says, also, should we not be sipping the bubbly to celebrate the monetization? I'm not monetized, mate. I'm not monetized. We're not there yet. There's a whole application process, and I dropped right underneath again. Jermaine says, it is awesome that Dave Meltzer, that now he eventually says that the unification match is not really a unification match, that basically it's a ruse. Yep, sounds about right. My opinion on this, and to be clear, this is my opinion, is that what they've done, like respectfully, is they've done everything they can to make it seem like the biggest WrestleMania match of all time. They've just added something else to make it sound like that. I don't see a new championship belt, and I definitely don't see one champion across 2 shows. I just don't see it. This does give us a great opportunity though. Imagine for a moment that Roman Reigns, or in fact Brock Lesnar, wins both championships. Let's say it's Roman. At the Royal Rumble, Roman held the WWE Championship and didn't want it. He threw it on the ground. He won't be part of your system. Basically, he doesn't want the WWE Championship. If he does that, one, it's a huge blow to the WWE Championship and to WWE Raw. However, it then gives us potentially, for WrestleMania Backlash, let's say an 8-man tournament. Let's throw some names out. Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Matt Riddle, Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar. There's 8. Imagine for a moment you get that with, on the first round, Orton versus Riddle. On the first round, Rollins versus Owens. And that's before we've even considered names like AJ Styles. I think this could work very well. Wiggly says, I'll open a Pepsi Max in your honour. Oh, mate, I'm on Cherry Coke. Bet no one saw that one coming. Austin, welcome to the show, sir. Says, I saw the roster reveal, shocked about the release stars being in there. Not so much myself. This has been rumoured for a while. I did hear for a while that they were trying to basically get rid of as many people as they could who had been released, but they were not able to do so because there just wouldn't be enough people on the roster. That's essentially what's happened. So we do have quite a few new names, as it were. Sean says, so a lot of the roster for 2K22, most of the superstars revealed, were released. I bet WWE was upset about that. Yeah, they did not want that. Absolutely not. Matthew Ham says, what will they do for the SmackDown Tag Team titles at WrestleMania? I suspect it will be some combination of Usos, New Day, and or Viking Raiders. That combination works best for me personally. Larry Bongo says, it's always been the same. Most political correctness was made up by people being outraged about political correctness going mad. Spot on, Larry. Completely agree. You are so right. Ethan Hill says, hey Tom. Hello Ethan, how you doing? Simon is here, says, I would really love and hope Becky main events for a second time. I love her story from the Indies and Japan all the way through to the WrestleMania main event in 2019. Didn't Finn Balor help train her? Yes, he did. Pardon me. Finn Balor essentially trained her. There's not so much help as trained her. It's why, in my head, there's a really cute throuple with Becky, Seth, and Finn, because I think that's kind of adorable and a little bit beautiful and a little bit sexy. Spider Boss says, talking about the Women's Tag Team Championships, where are Carmella and Zelina? They are on Monday Night Raw. Jermaine says, I understand what WWE is trying to do, but Ronda won the Royal Rumble. She deserves to be in the main event. Or what are we doing here? That's the same argument people made last year about Bianca. It's also the same argument that people hopefully made about Sheamus the year that he opened the show with Daniel Bryan. The Royal Rumble winner very rarely main events nowadays. Edge was an exception. Wiggly says, my research suggests Asuka doesn't have a twin in WWE playing her. Yeah, like, no. Yeah, correct. Tommy says, nothing wrong with being a Republican. Dems are messing up big time right now. As regards to the Republican-Democrat divide, I was commenting on the methods that the Republicans at the moment use. And honestly, I was stating that they were successful. So we try and avoid certain political alignments here. If you're a Republican, Tommy, by all means, believe what you believe. We are an open discourse channel here. And at some point, if we do get political, jump in. We'd love to hear more on it. Austin Palmiter says, can we get AJ Edge tonight? Well, yes, quite possibly. We can. Jaden says, are Bayley and Sasha still teaming soon? They could still do that. They could still do that, but I do feel that Sasha and Naomi will be taking the championships and running with them for a little time yet. The Jimmy Wrestling says, hi. WWE is not bad for what Vince McMahon needs to go. He may well be wrestling again. Yeah. KJ says, is Ronda pushing for the main event? I'd think she wouldn't mind. She's not necessarily pushing too hard for the main event, but WWE Creative are pushing hard for her to be the main event. And in addition to that, stating that we've got to say that Charlotte Flair really is going for the main event. Michael says, Mr. Colohue, how's it going? It's going very well, thank you, Michael. Welcome to the show. Sean says, I wonder if Alexa will be on Raw tonight to start the build for her Mania match. Well, first they need to work out what that Mania match is going to be, to be honest. We've got to get there somehow. Welcome, BM, to the YouTube show. KJ says, Hardy would have been huge on SmackDown. I feel would have drafted Morrison on SmackDown, give him a nice push, or even AJ, but Nakamura's still there. Maybe they'll build him to face Roman soon. I hope so. For me, he's sort of perfect. Sean says, Finn and Damien opens Raw tonight or main event? My suspicion is that they will be the third hour draw segment. That's what I would think. Ethan Hill says, how excited are you for WrestleMania? Moderately. I tend to get excited in the last few days. What I'm really, really excited for is being monetized and then doing like a week of watch parties. That's going to be great. Wiggly says, okay, I want to know, why do people hate Charlotte so much? Several reasons. I think primarily because she's very, very successful. Andrew Quinn says, what would your reaction be if Cody shows up on Raw tonight? My reaction, I would go nuts in a good way. I think they've agreed to deal with it being quiet from both ends. Cody does like it when it's quiet, and that's absolutely fair. But it surprises me that they've been able to keep this one quiet. As I say, at the moment, nothing has been signed. I can state that. However, these things do have a way of changing. Bailey says, why doesn't Charlotte change her character? It's largely been the same since she arrived, and I think that's why people get irritated with her. She's a heel, people are supposed to get irritated with her, so she's happy with the hatred that she's getting. Also, she got over, so I don't think people actually hate her that much. Moneymaker says, it seems to me like Becky and Bianca is a fans match and Charlotte versus Ronda is Vince's match. Yeah, which typically means that Vince McMahon will be the guy winning. Larry says, I feel for you losing subscribers, it's awful. Losing followers on Twitter at a hell of a rate. It's like Prince Andrew losing titles. Brutal. Brutal. Also, Larry, I'm not that concerned. I did manage to, like I say, I'm 16 subscribers better off at the start of this show than I was yesterday. So yes, we dropped below the 1,000 again, but we're still doing fantastic. Simon says, what's your opinion on the 24/7 title, Tom? Do you think they will keep it around? I think they will, because ultimately it's actually giving Dana Brooke a solid push, so it's working for someone. KJ says, the Young Bucks were at the WWE headquarters in their BTE video they posted today. Yep, why not? We've got to get over somehow. Spider-Boss says, Roman is good on taking shots on Raw. He once said that nobody watches Raw because people watch SmackDown because of him. He was really right in that moment as well. As I recall, he said that to Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre was not able to recover from that. Like, that was the end of Drew McIntyre's run, basically, in that moment. It was a brutalization, like proper brutality sort of level stuff. But that's Roman at the moment. Jado, welcome, mate. It's okay. I've been gone for a while. Why are we mentioning Stone Cold? Is he wrestling again? The rumours are that Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to be stepping out of retirement to take on Kevin Owens at WrestleMania, and this is why Owens has gone full anti-Texas, basically in the weeks leading up to this. Although at the moment, he's teasing a fight with JBL. Wiggly says, the subscribers will come, don't worry. The fact you're there, almost there, shows you're doing well. Again, I'm not at all worried. Not even slightly worried. I knew this was going to happen. This happens pretty regularly. There'll be days where I get 10, 20 subscribers in a day during a show, and almost all of them will drop off afterwards, and I'll have only gained 2 or 3. I'm happy with those 2 or 3. I don't want people just plain numbers. Like right now, I will happily take numbers because I'm this close to the monetization. But overall, if those subscribers aren't viewing, there's no point. KJ says, well, they're outside, they probably just stopped there to troll. Yeah, it's very being the elite to just sort of stand outside Titan Tower and wave at Vince's office. Manny Santos says, a fatal 4-way for the SmackDown tag titles with Los Lotharios. Los Lotharios have done extremely good, Manny. Thank you for mentioning that. I really like the work that they've been doing. I'd be very happy with them stepping into that breach. Andrew Quinn says, also apparently more Hall of Fame inductees are getting announced this week. I have also reported that myself right here on these shows. Sean says, no Bellas, Zelina, Shawn Michaels or Paige. I think they weren't revealed for a reason. Yes, Zelina because they're still making her. Paige because she's medically retired. Bellas because they were not created in time. It was a surprise to have them coming in. And Shawn Michaels, I'm not sure. Don't expect him to be wrestling. Simon just says, Savage Mania WWE title tournament win. WWF title tournament win. That was at WrestleMania 4. It was very Hulk Hogan, but still very good. Dimitar says, PW Insider is stating that Mella and Zelina versus Sasha and Naomi is currently slated for Mania. Do you have any idea on which day it will be? Well, to be fair, Dimitar, about a week ago, I announced that Sasha Banks would be stepping into the Tag Team Championship division. Wasn't able to say it was Naomi because they were hoping that Bayley would be cleared, but I did say that they would be going up against at least Carmella and Zelina. That was the idea gaining traction backstage in WWE. That is planned to be on night 2 at the moment. At the moment, that is planned to be on night 2 of WrestleMania. Fair enough, Tommy, whatever works for you, mate. Jermaine says, I could see Becky versus Bianca as the opening match for night 1 and Charlotte versus Ronda will close night 1 of WrestleMania. One of those is likely to happen. One of those is very likely to happen. And if it doesn't, the opposite is likely to happen. Ross Menzies, welcome to the show, mate. Says a tournament for WrestleMania Backlash would be good. I'd go for that. I'd definitely go for that. Go like full deadly game. Just give me an 8-man tournament and you see just how rich that top level on Raw is. Tommy says, are you going to watch Vince on the Pat McAfee show on Thursday? I'm in the UK here, Tommy. I don't believe I get the Pat McAfee show. I'll try and chase it up if I can. Jaden says, if Sasha and Bayley were to still team up anytime soon, how would they do that? What's your theory with Naomi still being there? Well, it's really simple. Either they break up that team and then make this new one, or they wait a little longer. There's not much to it, it's just eventually it'll work. Wiggly says, I think people hate Charlotte because she's gorgeous. If that were true, they would hate most of the women in WWE. All of them are some degree of gorgeous, let's be honest. And I think a large part of that comes down to presentation. They're very professional, what can I say? Sonic says, I could see Charlotte, Flair and Ronda Rousey opening night 2. They will definitely be wrestling in night 1. Spider-Boss says, my only wishes for WrestleMania are that Roman and Sasha win. Both of those, I would say, very likely. KJ says, crowd doesn't hate Flair, Twitter on the other hand. Which is a very, very fair comment, KJ. Thank you for bringing that in. The crowd doesn't hate Charlotte. Genuinely not. But social media, really not fans. This is a large part of, let's say, for example, I've made this comparison before. AEW aim for hardcore wrestling fans. WWE aim for casual wrestling fans. Hardcore wrestling fans hate Charlotte Flair and love Sasha Banks. Casual wrestling fans like Charlotte Flair and love Sasha Banks. Hardcore wrestling fans love Roman Reigns. Casual wrestling fans love Roman Reigns. I had a point here. I had a point. Basically, what you see on social media is not necessarily real life. Yeah, nailed it. Nailed it. Nailed it. Simon says, do you see Io or Kaylee Ray winning the 2022 Dusty Classic, then take the next tag team titles off of Toxic Attraction? Maybe? I really don't know. Honestly, I see Toxic Attraction keeping hold of it. Pardon me. Speaking of which, Toxic Attraction, they're really quite good, aren't they? I hope they get a call-up soon, just as a trio, because that would add a lot to, for example, SmackDown. Oh, no, they would. They would. Ooh, you add a new tag team who could go up against Sasha Banks and Naomi. You've got someone who could step in at that top level, not necessarily going up against Ronda, but you could have Mandy Rose come back and take on Sonya Deville. That would be even better now. Anyway. Spider-Boss says, Roman as heel and Cowboy Brock are the best of WWE now. I agree, they're very, very, very good. Absolutely. And honestly, I do feel... We've seen the rumour now about Ricochet being listed as the number 2 face on SmackDown, which cannot possibly be true, because they say the number 1 face is Drew McIntyre. You remember Brock, right? You remember Brock. He shows up on SmackDown as well. He's listed. He's there. Super says, what's up, Tom? Can I get your thoughts on Roman's promo? I think everyone is gassing it. I loved it. I absolutely loved it at the time, and I still love it now. It was short, it was sweet, it was to the point, and it got me very, very excited. I just enjoyed it. Rob's welcome, mate, says, hit those likes, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Yes, please do. If you're able to hit that like button, I'd be very appreciative. We currently have 22 likes, and we have 46 viewers. So if we're able to click a few likes, before you know it, we'll be getting close to that 50. Also, as of right now, we are on 998 subscribers. If we were able to get 2 more, we get back to the 1,000. We did gain 20 subscribers yesterday and finish on 1,002. Then we lost 10 again over the course of the night, but we've got back up to 998. So we are still 16 subscribers better off than we were when we first started. So thank you everyone for your subscriptions and just being here, really. Like, everyone who's here right now, you are helping me grow just by being here. So thank you. Jermaine says, I could see the women's battle royal on the kickoff show for night 2. Sasha and Naomi versus Zelina and Carmella will be on night 2 on the main card. Yep, that's exactly what I expect. Exactly what I expect. They're trying to basically spread out the women of the WWE. KJ chants for Cody, which seems like it's coming. Spider-Boss says, I guess people hate Charlotte because she's always been in the title picture. Also very fair. It's a level of success that no one else gets. Charlotte Flair will be overtaking Ric Flair's record pretty shortly, let's be fair. But, as I have reported previously, and I want to be clear on this because I did say it will start happening around WrestleMania onwards, the 4 horsewomen are expected to drop down a rung, just ever so slightly. We are not expecting the 4 horsewomen to be as dominant as they were. This WrestleMania is a bit of a swan song for the prominence level that the 4 horsewomen currently have. The WWE's intention is to start featuring some more women some more regularly. Those names that have been batted to me, obviously Ronda and Bianca, but also Alexa and Rhea Ripley have been mentioned strongly as people that the WWE want to see pushed. There's also a very strong level of excitement because of what they've done recently over Naomi and Sonya and Mandy Rose. Austin says Pat versus Theory at Mania. That's what I find more likely. I don't think Vince is going to wrestle, but I do think we're going to see a program set up between Pat and Vince, in which Austin Theory will act as Vince's proxy. Simon says loves that Sasha is a female draw on night 2. Very much so, yes. I think Alexa will be as well. KJ says, funny Tom. Funny. Tom mentioned more Hall of Fame inductees on stream yesterday and hours later everyone else reported. Yeah, it's funny, right? Spoiler warning gets watched by a lot more people than I initially realised. Ed has clarified HBKs and the showcase unlockable, so there you go. Bro says I might be late, but who's main eventing night 1? Charlotte, Becky, Stone Cold, Vince? This is as great a time as any. I'm going to answer definitively who is going to main event this year's WrestleMania, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, it is Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. Spoiler alert! WrestleMania this year will be main evented by Roman Reigns against Brock Lesnar. As regards night 1, the WWE are not 100% sure. All the reports that we have seen so far stating that Charlotte versus Ronda will main event are theories. Now, this is a strong theory because it's based on Vince McMahon, and Vince brought in Ronda to be a big name. However, up until Royal Rumble, I was being told with certainty that Becky Lynch would main event night 1 and Roman Reigns would main event night 2. Essentially the biggest star on Raw for night 1, the biggest star on SmackDown for night 2. That was the plan. I have not heard definitively that that has changed because, and I say this with absolute confidence, the WWE are not sure. Becky and Charlotte have been competing for a while to put people over more, for prominence, for that Survivor Series match. Now they are competing for the main event of night 1, which just means all 4 women will be upping their game. This is also why both commentary teams are calling it the main event. I believe we are more likely to see a Raw and then a SmackDown main event, but now they've gone undisputed. Now they've gone title unification. That kind of takes that away, doesn't it? Spider-Boss says, was Brock winning at WrestleMania 34 Vince's call? Yes, it was. Michael says, I've never understood how Mania is like the end of the season for WWE, where they end storylines when some are thrown together the last few weeks or so. It's a fair point, Michael. Originally, the whole plan was that they would have the WrestleMania card written just by the end of the previous year's WrestleMania. They had it a year in advance. I think 35 was the last time they actually did that. And even then, Becky Lynch broke her way in. Kofi Kingston broke his way in. Lots of things changed that they were planned. It was going to be Owens versus Daniel Bryan that year. J-Dub says, have we figured out how we're going to play and use WWE 2K22 in the channel? We have not, to be honest. The fact that we don't have online co-op is really harming my interest in it, to be blunt. But I know people who are getting the game, and I may make a point of being a guest on their channel and go from there. We'll work something out. KJ says Charlotte doesn't even get booed when she comes out. They cheer and go woo. Yeah, when you're actually in the audience, it is very different. Michael says there's a huge difference in Twitter versus in audience crowd for likes of Goldberg too. Absolutely there is. Absolutely. Dimitar says, yes, Charlotte gets mixed reactions from the crowds, but is hated on socials, while Becky and Sasha get mainly good reactions on both sides. Absolutely. David Leary correctly saying Mandy has gotten better in the ring. She's been fantastic. Larry says, hardcore wrestling fans are mostly wankers. Am I allowed to say that? Obviously not the ones here, the other ones. I get that. Twitter and social media is sometimes very difficult when you're with the hardcore wrestling fans. They are pains in the arse. They really are. James says, the worst reaction is no reaction. This is what makes top people great. The fans have a strong opinion one way or the other. Absolutely. If you hate someone, You're doing what they want. Pardon me. Like, even at the height of Roman Reigns as a babyface, when he was getting booed from the crowd, they would always have him as a runner-up in Royal Rumbles because they knew you'd pop the winner. They would have him getting beaten by Bray Wyatt at Survivor Series, knowing that Bray Wyatt was about to become the WWE Champion. They would have him compete against Keith Lee. That is a way of using the feelings that people have, while at the same time trying to maintain the feelings that you may want. Don't forget also, he was used to put over AJ Styles when AJ Styles first came in. Didn't actually lose a match to him, but you remember how good those matches were, right? Simon says, did you see my AEW fave Tay Conti beating the undefeated Jade Cargill to win the TBS champion? Oh, do you see? No, I don't see that. Jade Cargill is a force onto herself, and I think she is the future of AEW women's wrestling and will forcibly make women's wrestling good on AEW. Though to be fair, that can also be said about Tay Conti, who I was always a big fan of personally. KJ says, also social media has narratives that everyone follows because everyone is followers, and it's just a cool thing to do. That is true. If you can tap into that narrative that people set of these people are good and these people are bad, you will do very well on social media. Andrew Quinn says, for me, the other inductees, as regards Hall of Fame, I'm going to say Batista Umaga. I would not be surprised to see Batista revisited at this point. They've already done like the, oh, you're the first one, and so on. So I think now they'll be tucking him back into the pocket a little bit, but there's nothing wrong with that. John says, Miz revealed on a video on his Twitter that he and Logan Paul versus Rey and Dominic are going to be on night 1 of WrestleMania. We will get all the matches announced for night 1 or night 2 over the next few weeks, and this will be with a view to making sure the tickets get sold. KJ says, Mandy, I think, is a star now. She's gotten so much better. She's revitalized. I agree. She was originally moved down to NXT because they didn't believe she was good enough to be on Raw. She's certainly good enough to be on main roster right now, I tell you. Jane says, I thought you said that you had some Sasha news. Yes, the Sasha news was that she will be competing against the tag team champions on night 2 of WrestleMania. Night 2 of WrestleMania. That is the Sasha Banks news. I don't know what else you're expecting from here. There is no news beyond she's going to be wrestling this match on this day of WrestleMania. Short of this is exactly what's going to happen in the match, I don't think I can give you any more, to be honest. I was in ahead of the curve with what match would happen, what championship she'd be competing with, now what night she's going to be on. I don't know what more I could give you, to be honest. I'm pretty happy with that. Jay says, did WWE just throw Sasha into a tag match for the sake of her being on the card because something seems off? Yes and no. They were determined to get her on the card, and they did succeed in that. But over the last week or so, they have decided to go the tag team route. Naomi was a last second choice, but Sasha did have a say in who she would be teaming with. Moneymaker says, I'd love to see Sasha and Naomi versus Io and Kaylee Ray. I would also love that. That would be fantastic, and hopefully one day it will happen. Sonic says, I've seen the reaction of the Asuka news from Peter Insider, and it turns out that Asuka is in LA recently. Yeah, with Asuka, as I said in the Discord, Asuka's return, as it were, has been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. She was the first choice to be in that Elimination Chamber match. She was planned to be in the Royal Rumble. The day did not come. KJ would like to see Roman swearing more. He does like that word, to be fair. Larry says, when I said mostly, I meant quite a few, not most, / backpedaling. You don't need to worry about that here. This ain't Twitter. What we have right now, on between Twitch and YouTube, is the most well-informed and intelligent chat in wrestling. And you guys know this. Because anyone who comes in and, is a dick, or comes in and just starts throwing hate around, they go. They go. I make it clear to them that they are not welcome. So far, I've only actually had to get rid of one person, but it was time. It was time. Simon says, that's why I mentioned Savage's WWF title tournament win at Mania 4 with your comparisons to the Backlash 2022 WWE title tournament. It's a good shout, a good comparison. As I said, a little bit deadly game, something I really enjoyed. Jaden is subscribed on 7 accounts. Wow, I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, that is commitment, and I respect that. Thank you kindly for that. So you account for nearly a full % of my subscribers. Thank you kindly. As I say, we are extremely close now to that 1,000 again. We are still at 998. If you have not yet done so, please consider hitting like and subscribing on YouTube as well. Jay says, do you know why WWE never capitalized on Sasha's star power when she's the most over, like WrestleMania 2016, Becky versus Sasha in 2020, and the 2022 Royal Rumble? 2022 Royal Rumble injury. 2020 versus Becky was because they had chosen Becky and they were sticking with it. WrestleMania 2016 was because they had chosen Charlotte and were sticking with it. They wanted to elevate a heel and have Sasha chase it at that time, which is essentially what they did. James Stewart says, will Cena or Orton break Ric Flair's record on the male side of things? No. Cena does not want to. Orton's a maybe, but I don't think he wants to be competing for the top championships anymore. Honestly, with Orton, I think he's going to be working in the mid-card for the foreseeable and then probably start looking at retiring. Edward Brooks says, Bayley still deserves a WrestleMania singles match, hopefully in LA next year. As soon as she's cleared, they'll be doing more with her. They just need to get her officially cleared first. Dimitar says, any chance other women's matches happen at Mania? I find it likely we're going to see an Alexa Bliss versus either Rhea Ripley or Liv Morgan match. I think Alexa versus Rhea is the most likely at the moment, but we will have the women's battle royal as well. Spider-Boss would like to see Pat McAfee versus Corey Graves. Me too. I did tweet about that a while back, and I would really enjoy that. I think that would just be a great match. Austin Palmeter says, my favourite is Brock, but I'm thinking he's going to lose. Could it be possible Solo helps Roman and joins the Bloodline? Possibly, yes, but I think it's way too early for that. I think that would help Roman, but would not help Solo Sikoa at all. I think he needs some time to stand alone, so he's not always known as the spare Russo. You could genuinely ruin the guy's career by pulling the trigger too early. KJ says, with them moving the Four Horsemen to the side soon, they have to have another Evolution soon. They do not. The main reason that they had an Evolution pay-per-view was because of the Saudi Arabia show being male only. It was to balance that out. Now that the Saudi Arabia shows feature women regularly as well, the WWE have no intention of returning to Evolution. It's a shame, but that's what it is. Matthew Ham says, will they set up Edge versus AJ Styles tonight? Maybe. They will start the process of whoever Edge's competitor is going to be. Wiggly says, I mean, how could we have a champion versus champion match not main event WrestleMania? Very true. Roman Reigns will be main eventing WrestleMania. Jermaine Presley says, hey Tom, I wonder about the MSG show, because it's getting mentioned too much recently. It gets me wondering something might happen. Or ticket sales are not great and they're just desperately needing to sell a few more. Bailey says, 2 weeks from now, PW Insider will now break the news that Roman vs. Brock is the main event. So here's the thing. I've been criticised in the past for reporting news that is obvious. For example, do you remember when I mentioned that Drew McIntyre would be taking on Baron Corbin for WrestleMania? I was criticised then for, well, duh. 2 weeks later, the Wrestling Observer reports Drew McIntyre will be taking on Baron Corbin at WrestleMania. Did anyone say duh to him? No. Everyone reported that as news. We get the news here first, guys. Not all the news, I don't know everything. But we get good news here, don't we? I'm afraid I've got some good news. Wiggly says, Reigns and Lesnar have had a few WrestleMania encounters already. This is their third, in fact. I feel this will be the final time they face off at WrestleMania. I agree. This needs to be the final chapter. The final chapter of this particular installation. Wiggly says, Reigns and... No, I've already read that. Simon says, Tom, who's your favourite pro wrestler turned actor? Still Triple H. Awful films. Awful films. It's great. James Stewart says, will Raw after Mania be better this year? Last year felt like a letdown. Last year I feel mostly felt like a letdown because crowds had vanished and the wrestlers just weren't happy about that. This year will be good. KJ says, any ideas as to who replaces Bobby this weekend? Hardys broke their way into Mania 35. True. Fair. Absolutely true. Replacing Bobby is hard to say because they didn't know who Bobby Lashley was going to be going up against at WrestleMania. So it's not so much a replacement as a body. A lot of WrestleMania has been rewritten this year, basically. Rob says, I believe part of that not confirming which night which main events will officially go on also goes hand in hand with driving ticket sales, particularly for night one. I agree. I know that the idea is that if you know what night your preferred match is going to be in, you'll buy a ticket for that night. They don't want you to buy a ticket for that night. They want you to buy a ticket for both nights. So they want you to just go ahead and buy before you know. And many people have. Spider-Boss says, if WWE wants the Four Horsewomen moved aside soon, they have to build new stars soon. So far the only new stars are Bianca and Rhea. Bianca and Rhea might be the only new stars, but we still have Alexa, and of course Ronda Rousey. So the people are there. And also, just to be clear, they're not being completely moved out of the way. They'll still be used. They just won't be the be-all and end-all as they have been over the last couple of years. Simon is asking, what's the latest on Lashley's injury? Cultaholic said today he may make Mania 38. That is the rumour. The rumour is that he is trying to get cleared for Mania. They have not, at this point in time, planned a match for him. Spider-Boss says, when Becky was beating Charlotte in 2018, hardcore fans loved it. Yep, at that point, of course, Becky was the bad guy, and they loved her. KJ says, a triple threat tag match of RK Bro versus the Alphas versus KO and Seth really could be one of the craziest fallouts to a match of all time. Imagine if Randy turned on Riddle, Austin came to stun KO, and Cody shows up for Seth. That may be too much, but just imagine, crowd would lose their voice that night. If that all happened, yeah, absolutely. Will that all happen? No. I find it more likely tonight that what's actually going to happen is that Alpha Academy will... It is tonight, isn't it? Alpha Academy will retain the championships due to Seth and KO getting in the face of RK Bro and just probably Randy getting pinned. Randy really likes Otis and Chad Gable, by the way, just so everyone knows. Matthew says, will the women's tag team title be multi-women? Yes, there'll be at least 4. Sean says, who do you think wins the Andre the Giant battle and the women's battle royal? I think when it comes to the women's battle royal, the most likely winner is someone like Rhea Ripley. And when it comes to the men's, Omos. Omos is an absolute shoo-in for me. Simon says, Trish, very interestingly, on her Insta story today, said Sasha coming for you. Yeah. Yep, she's trying to excite people. It happens. Sean says, apparently AEW signed Flip Gordon. Credit to him. I mean, he'll have a great time on Dark. Sean says, I saw something that Randy said he may retire when he's 50. Not that long then. Justin says Alexa will be a heel. Rhea and Liv are both faces. To be clear, she doesn't have to be. You can have face versus face matches. The rule is you either do face versus heel or face versus face. You try and avoid heel versus heel. Except even then, they've tried to put together some good matches, like Charlotte versus Becky, for example. Michael says, I want a non-title women's match on the main card. I don't think the women have to have a title match, in which case Alexa versus Rhea or Liv would be perfect for you. Spider-Boss says, does Roman win clean at WrestleMania or Roman win with some controversy? That would be a match finish. And I don't spoil those. Matthew Ham says, what does Dave mean that Vince versus Pat would be smoke and mirrors? He is teasing Cody Rhodes. He's teasing the idea that we'll see Vince McMahon versus Cody Rhodes. Wiggly says, if you want a real horror film, watch Mr. Nanny, it's really terrible. I have seen it, it's terrible. Also, thank you for the extra subscription. KJ says Solo Sikoa could be leaning towards getting help from the Usos as he's picked a fight with Imperium. Maybe they could do a 6-man tag at TakeOver as they're in an arena again. They could, they should, that'd be great. Then the Usos should go away again and leave him to develop. Jermaine says, if WWE was smart, I would do, so you would do, Asuka and Io versus Sasha and Naomi versus Zelina and Carmella versus Natalya and Beth. Now that would be an awesome match. Shayna wins the kickoff show battle royal. I like what you've done there with all of that. Would be fun. Sean says, did a lot of the wrestlers not want to compete when there was no fans? I at no point did they not want to compete. It's just not the same. Northern Bear, welcome mate. So congratulations on 1k YouTube subscribers. Are we back there again? Because we got there yesterday, then dropped down to 992. Are we back there again? We started the show at 998. Honestly, with the amount that we lost this morning, I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm not going to count my chickens. But I am going to be very happy about the fact that, yes, we have indeed returned to oh, I'm getting excited again. We have indeed returned to 1,000 subscribers. Now we just got to build that buffer, guys. Just got to build that buffer. Thank you, everyone who is watching at current, everyone who's subscribed, everyone who's joined me. It's wonderful to see you all. Hector says, happy Monday, Tom. I don't know if this has been mentioned as I've been busy with work, but did you see Meltzer said the unification of the titles won't last long, like when they did the unification in the early 2000s? Do you see them getting rid of the Universal title or just making it red again? I don't see them getting rid of the Universal title. I did mention this earlier, but I'm going to reiterate. Roman at the Royal Rumble did not want the WWE Championship. I suspect that is exactly what is going to happen. I suspect Roman's going to win and decide he doesn't want the WWE Championship. This will result in a tournament at WrestleMania Backlash. Possibly the Final Four will be going at it for WrestleMania Backlash. But imagine for a moment, just imagine, I'm just going to list some names for the like an 8-man tournament. Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, Matt Riddle, Bobby Lashley, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Edge, AJ Styles. Look at the talent at that very top level on Monday Night Raw. Tell me you don't want that tournament. Tell me you don't want that tournament. James Stewart says, back to 1K, need that buffer, then crack the champagne before #carry on. Indeed, I'm going to, as I said yesterday, I'm going to give it a few days to balance itself out a little bit before I then look at putting forward the application that I will need to do in order to get the full-on monetization. But based on what's happening, unless we get like 100 people dropping off in the next couple of weeks, we're monetized by Mania, guys. We're monetized by Mania. And once you're monetized, YouTube starts to advertise you a hell of a lot more. Neem says, when Asuka lost at WrestleMania 34, did casual or hardcore wrestling fans react? Not really. KJ says, women's division can only have so much top tier talent. In my opinion, you have the 4 horsewomen, Ronda, Bianca, Rhea, Alexa, and even Asuka. Then you've got Liv, Sonya, Naomi coming up. Exactly. You have a whole lot of people with a lot of talent very close to that top level. The 4 horsewomen need to be moved out of the way. Out of the way. And that's basically exactly what I expect to see. I've been speaking about this for a couple of months now. The 4 horsewomen, by the end of this year, will be in nowhere near as prominent a position as they were at the end of last year. After WrestleMania, they will quieten down a little. They'll still be featured. They'll still have matches. They'll still be competing. But they won't be the most heavily pushed. Yes, KJ, that is what I said. Matthew Ham says, will Vince versus Pat McAfee actually be Pat versus Theory? Well, Dave seems to think it'll actually be Cody versus Vince. Maybe it'll be Cody versus Theory. Who can tell? Like, who can tell? I suspect more likely it's going to be Pat versus Theory, personally. Salmon says, Raw is in Alexa's hometown tonight, and she is teasing an appearance, I tell you. Andrew Quinn says, Drew McIntyre said Cody might have unfinished business in the WWE. This is my prediction. Cody faces Seth at Mania, Cody beats Seth, then the Raw after Mania, Cody faces the US champion and wins it. Yeah. That seems based on what I've been saying for a while. Cody's winning that United States Championship. Like, you heard it here first. Cody is winning that championship. Spider-Boss says, if Bayley returns, any chance she can be part of Raw? Yes, there is a chance that she could be part of Raw. They don't know yet. KJ says, I think Omos and Rhea will win the Battle Royal if they're left off the Mania card, which is exactly what I said as well, KJ. And congrats again. Tommy saying 1K subs again. Indeed, we got there again. Andrew Quinn says, you're 1K subs again. Yep. We did suffer a 10-person drop yesterday, but we still ended up in a much stronger place at close of play, as it were. The important thing isn't that we hit the target per se, it's that we continue to grow. And over the last 10 days or so, we've gained 10 or 11 people every day. So it's... the last 2 months we've grown exponentially. And you can see it. You can see it when you look at the live streams like a day later. Most of them are above 1,000 views, which is more subscribers than I have. More views than subscribers is not something that's supposed to happen. So things are working. KJ says that's a good ass pool. There'll be so much more guys too, but yes, imagine. Crazy thing, all those guys you named are only on Raw, and there ain't nobody on SmackDown. Get the tables, welcome to the show, mate. Says, is Lashley hurt or not? They keep saying Lashley versus Lesnar at the MSG show, but I thought he was injured. Lashley is injured. However, he believes he can make it back in time. The WWE do not believe that, so they do have someone in reserve to face off against Lesnar. I find it likely it'll be someone like Seth Rollins. I find it likely Seth will be taking that loss. Mr. Floodwater, been a while, mate. How you doing? Says, are you saying Reigns is definitely 100% winning? No, I am not. I do not spoil match finishes here on this show. Spider-Boss says, who is responsible for the Carmella cashing on Charlotte after Mania 34? Carmella, I mean, she's the one who pinned the one. I think that's pretty responsible. Simon is saying, my favourite match for Revolution I'm most looking forward to is Danielson versus Mox. Should be a 5-star classic. Anything less than 5 stars is a disappointment, but it's AEW, so it'll get 5 stars. KJ says, didn't even mention Balor, Priest and Ray. Indeed, I didn't mention any of those 3. Still a great field. Simon says, do you see Liv winning the Raw Women's title this year? Possibly. It's harder now that Ronda's in play. You know, it's just harder. King Zandy, welcome back, mate. That they're just trying to replicate his New Japan US title run. He wants that championship. Cody wants the US championship. He really does. It's all about that tattoo. KJ says, I think Cody could lose at Mania if he faces Seth, much like AJ did in 2016. Not sure on that one. After all, Cody has significantly more bargaining power than AJ did. Sean says, whoever Alexa faces at Mania, do you see them winning? Depends who it is. I'm honestly not sure. Michael says, I think they can still do matches within the Four Horsewomen without a title. Charlotte versus Sasha and Bayley versus Becky works without a title. Indeed, and having the Four Horsewomen in position to feud without championships really helps elevate like the B-level pay-per-views. Imagine that you're going into WrestleMania Backlash and you've got a top-tier championship match, Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley. You've also got Becky versus Bayley. And you've got Ronda versus Shayna. How good does that sound? The month after, you have Bianca versus Liv, and you have Charlotte versus Sasha. There's a lot that you could do with that. B-School Nick says Alexa is getting married soon, so maybe she won't be in a match at Mania. I don't think marriage will stop her from wrestling. Hector says if Vince wrestles again, I need vignettes of him training and chugging raw eggs again. Those were gold. Catch the chicken, catch the chicken, catch that chicken. I will always remember Shane McMahon's voice just telling me to catch a chicken. Wiggly says, will they broadcast this MSG show or release highlights of it on the network? I don't believe they will, no. Matthew Ham says, will there be a ladder match at WrestleMania this year? There isn't one planned at the moment. Ladder matches, unfortunately, are fading to the background as well. Michael said, I like the way you think, Tom. Well, you're in the right place. Because this is a place where I tell people what I think. And what I think is let's have great wrestling matches, basically. If you're currently watching on Twitch, please do remember you can hit that follow button. It's just a little purple button underneath with a little love heart on it. That's a terrible love heart. What am I doing? I can't do it. Let's just move on. Let's just move on. I've gotten shit before for my terrible love hearts. Is that better? That's a lot better. That's still terrible. That's still awful. I can't do it. Stop bullying me. Anyway, so please consider doing that if you would like notifications every time we go live. We are very nearly at 500 followers over on Twitch. Of course, if you're on YouTube, hit that like button and hit subscribe as well. We're at 1,000 on YouTube and I'd like to keep going. Floodwater says, why are all the horsewomen taking a back seat? Again, not sure all of them will be taking a back seat all at once, but because they have all been pushed so heavily over the last 7 years, because they've all been the number one women over the last 7 years, the WWE wants some more rotation so that people such as Bianca, Alexa, can get opportunities again. Alexa was told a few years ago now that it would be a long time before she had a top championship shot again. The WWE changed their minds on that because they like what Alexa has been giving them recently. Spider-Boss says Sasha versus Charlotte on Money in the Bank with a stipulation winner faces Ronda at SummerSlam 2002. Certainly a possibility. I would have no issue with that one. It would be great to have pay-per-view number one contender matches again. Kervin says if WWE planned this match, Fatal 4-Way, Charlotte versus Ronda versus Becky versus Bianca, Unify, pardon me, everybody is happy. I don't think they are. I think a lot of people are angry that, we wanted Charlotte versus Ronda. I think a lot of people are happy that, we wanted Becky versus Ronda. I think a lot of people are unhappy that, Bianca needed her moment. Because if that's the Fatal 4-Way, Charlotte's winning. To be clear. Matthew Ham says, who is Edge's opponent at WrestleMania? You'll find out very soon, Matthew. Wiggly says, Edgy take, but I never rated the Four Horsemen. I never really knew them. I was a WWF guy. Sean says, Brock opens Raw tonight. Possibly, probably, very likely. Spider-Boss says, can the Four Horsewomen be compared to Cena and Batista and Randy and Brock? I think that is a fair comparison, because literally they came in as a class of 2015 and changed everything. Wiggly says, another edgy take. I'm neither a fan of Becky Lynch, nor did I think Bray Wyatt was anything special. I am a big fan of Becky Lynch. I think it might be the Irish connection, and I did think Bray Wyatt was quite special, but I didn't think The Fiend was. The Fiend I never really got. Kevin says, damn, WWE have no plan for Elias. I have mentioned that a few times in here. The vignettes were to start a recreation for a character that Elias said, I don't want that. So they're trying to starve him out, essentially. Hector says, with the imminent arrival of Cody to WWE, #maybe, I'm wondering, do talent have a right to own their theme music for when they go to other promotions, or is it owned by the company who produced or made it? That is a case-by-case basis, though Cody may still have it. KJ says, I wonder how big Money in the Bank will be this year, as they're in a Mania-sized stadium, the Allegiant Stadium. I think it's going to be big, and I think the WWE's intention is to go full-size stadium for everything. Even if they don't sell out, it's a full-size stadium, you know? If you can, do. Floodwater says, any updates on the possible September UK stadium show? The WWE was in the UK recently to negotiate on possible stadiums that they could host from. However, there was recently some storm damage on a lot of them, so there's a few steps to take first. Simon says, why do you think Tony Khan never pulled a trigger on a Cody heel turn? Cody never wanted to be heel. It's that simple. Cody never wanted to turn heel, so it never happened. Matthew Arm says, when do you think Cody debuts? If he signs. To be clear, Cody Rhodes has not signed for the WWE as of yet. If he signs, then he'll probably debut. Spider Boss says, does WWE need to go TV-14, or would they still prefer to be PG-13? Their target audience is PG-13, so they're staying PG-13. Kevin says, Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville will probably be a classic. Sami versus Ricochet will be a lot of fun, I'll say that. Welcome, Sergio. Welcome to the show, mate. Wiggly says, also, what do you think this big AEW announcement will be? Said it before, I'll say it again. I don't think Tony Khan even knows what his big announcement is going to be. I think it's a bit of ratings pandering, and I think it's working. Big Xander says, been thinking about this for a while. Would love to see Sasha go a non-title Mania match like HBK, where he faced Jericho, Angle, Vince, Flair, and Taker twice. Just become literal Miss WrestleMania. I get behind that. That sounds great. Batman, welcome, mate. Says, do you see Bianca and Rhea like Cena and Batista for the women? I don't know. Maybe? I don't think it's fair to compare people that directly. Like, we can compare Horsewomen to Class of 2002 because that's entity versus entity, but I don't want to go person for person because I just don't think it works. And Wiggly says, don't forget, a TV-14 WWE wouldn't appeal in some territories like in Saudi Arabia. People tend to forget WWE is a global brand, even if their biggest primary market is the US. The WWE, to be clear, have no intention of leaving their PG-13 because it is making them more money than ever before. And that's going to be our show. We are out of questions at this point in time. We have finished the hour, and we have finished the hour on 1K all over again. So, we're getting closer and closer to that monetization. We have the numbers. We just need to hold them now and keep going from there. I'm going to wrap up. You will see me again on Friday, unless big news happens, at which point you'll see me beforehand. Ooh, just before. Steve jumps in, says, what's up, buddy? Hope you're doing well. Sorry I'm late. No need. But we'll catch Rest on Demand. Which celebrity who hasn't wrestled would you like to see in a WWE ring one day? Ooh. I've forgotten his damn name. That will not stand. Henry Cavill. The Witcher. Henry Cavill. I would love to see him wrestle at WrestleMania. That'd be great. Jaden says, are you going to watch Raw? Yes, eventually. I will not be hosting a watch party for Raw. For the foreseeable future, until at least the Raw after WrestleMania, I will not be watching Raw live during watch parties. But we will be watching SmackDown still. And of course, the big pay-per-views. Yes, King Zandy. Superman. I'll see you guys on Friday unless something else big comes up. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic all over again. I will see you all very soon.